Now, this is amazing. We have a former student, Chris Woods, who graduated in 1986 from Crossroads and now just happens to be a successful businessman in Naples. Chris, if you'd come up here, please.
In 1986, Crossroads Wilderness Institute opened its doors. CWI, as it was known, took on a challenge that no other would even dare to contemplate. They were going to take young men from radically different backgrounds, different ethnicities, from areas as far south as Miami to as far north as Tallahassee. The only thing these young men had in common was that they were incarcerated. They were all convicted felons, disposable teens in the eyes of society. CWI took on the challenge to see if these young men could be rehabilitated, be taught the skills to overcome obstacles, and given an education, given a chance not to become another statistic. When these teen convicts arrived from prisons located all across the state, they were greeted with a shell of one building standing. Porta-johns lined up outside, and an acre or so of land cleared out and sitting in the middle of a forest. No guards, no fence, no razor wire, no gun towers, no spotlights, no dogs, no cells with barred windows, and no locked doors. They built CWI from the ground up. They were taught skilled work such as carpentry, concrete work, and electrical wiring. They were given trust and respect. For those without high school diplomas, proper education was provided. They were not punished if a piece of wood was not cut correctly. They were shown how to do it again. If a dispute broke out, they were not thrown into isolation. They were taught to work it out. They were assigned a counselor, someone they could talk to, someone who would be on their side. The counselors at CWI were determined that these young men would not become another statistic. That was in 1986. I stand before you now in 2012, and ladies and gentlemen, I am not a statistic. I was one of the original convicts brought to CWI. After I left CWI, I went on to college. I worked as a commercial diver using the diving skills I learned at CWI. I worked in construction using the skills taught me at CWI. I own and operate a successful landscape company. My oldest son is an honor student and a varsity basketball player. He hopes to play for Duke one day. I hope for a scholarship. My daughter dances ballet, and at 4, she was already a computer whiz. My beautiful wife, Catherine, has a science degree and is in training to be a registered nurse. She truly is my better half. CWI's mission has been redirected to keep children out of prison. Kids are sent to CWI by the juvenile justice system instead of the Department of Corrections. Now, after decades of proving that their methods of education and counseling works better than lockup and brutality, some bureaucrats in Tallahassee want to kill the contract with CWI. And I ask, for what reason? Does the state-run program have a better recidivist rate? No. Even using the fuzzy math in which they calculate their inflated numbers? No, they do not. Do they have a better program in which to rehabilitate offenders? That's purely laughable. I won't bore you with figures that have been calculated and distributed for review. I'm here to show you things from a human point of view. If CWI is not around to help these kids, to educate them, to show them a better way, then prison is the next stop. In prison, you enter into a gladiator camp, thus called because if you can't fight when you go in, you certainly will before you leave. The education system there, well, I learned how to pick locks, hot wire cars, and case a house. Convicts educate convicts. There, I learned the art of robbery. I learned the art of violence. The answer to any problem that may arise, violence. I left the custody of the Department of Corrections with the skills to be a better felon. If there had not been CWI there to guide and teach me, to give me the skills and the chance to better myself, I would have no doubt been another statistic. Instead of re-entering society with hope and the desire to succeed, with the determination that I would make something out of my life, I would have been released, full of anger, with a PhD in crime and a mindset that violence solves everything. I was taught to be accountable for my actions, to own up to my deeds, and this I have done. To those who wish to take away this institute, to take away this last chance for our children, I hope they see the errors of their ways. We live in a disposable society, but our kids are not disposable. Thank you for your time and for listening, and thank you to CWI for allowing me to speak today.